Hello folks, we're going to get started. I try to start on time, end on time. I am Mayor Jared Lippman, and to my right is Alderman Brooks Schandelmeyer. Let me lay out the agenda a little bit so you know what to expect. After about my very brief intro that I'm doing right now, Alderman Schandelmeyer is going to introduce himself. Then I'll give you a little bit more of an intro of almost first 100 days as mayor, and then I'm going to have each of the directors introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about what they do, and then we're going to open it up for the majority of the time for Q&A. And at the end, we're going to save, I'm looking for a clock. At the end, we're going to save a little time because a few of our directors tend not to get questions, and so I've got prepared questions to make sure that all of the directors get to share a little bit about themselves. So with that, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to turn over to Alderman Brooks Schandelmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Alderman Brooks Schandelmeyer. Really excited to be back up here at this table. Really excited to be working with Mayor Lippman for this term. So for those of you who, whose doors I knocked on and who got my multitude of mail and digital ads, I ran on three things primarily: making housing more affordable, childcare more accessible, and creating good jobs here in the city of Annapolis. I'm really excited to say that one of those three things is coming up for a vote on Monday night, a way to make childcare more accessible and potentially more affordable. As the state is now allowing us to get tax credits to registered child care centers, and if that passes, we can potentially bring down wait times, which can be up to a year long in this area and cost as much as a mortgage. I'm really excited that our job program with the Maritime Apprenticeship Program is humming along. We brought a new maritime business into the city of Annapolis. They're going to be in front of Economic Matters tomorrow, explaining why they came here and all the great things that they want to do. And we're working on some really exciting housing legislation that's going to make more options available to more families, so that way people can get a roof over their head and not be spending up to a third of their income just to have shelter. So really excited to be working with all of you. If you need anything, feel free to send me an email. Feel free to give me a call. Try to get back to everybody as quickly as I can, and thanks for coming.
Thanks, Brooks. I alternate. I try to use people's titles. They've earned it, but we all are friendly, so it's hard to get out of the habit of calling each other by first names.
My last name is way too German.
So again, Jared Lippman. I had been the alderman for Ward 5 back from 2013 to 2017, so don't tell the other wards, but Ward 5 might be my favorite. I really enjoyed representing Ward 5, and now again as mayor, it's been certainly an honor. Some of the things I'm working on just to share what life is like as your mayor. So gearing up right now for my first budget. This is going to be, I'm sure every mayor every year says this is a challenging year, but certainly when you have the context of federal funding being pulled back or not being given, the state certainly, I'm sure you all are well aware of the state's constraints, so certainly a challenging budget season. Some of the big projects we're working on: our largest engineering project of our entire history, City Dock project. I would estimate 15-20% of my time is on City Dock. It's just it's a weekly challenge, and I'm very excited to see it move forward. But as you can imagine, with a big project like this, it's very complicated, more than you would realize, more than I realized, and I knew it was complicated. I think having my lawyer and engineering background, business background, has certainly been helpful for that. Navigating lawsuits. So besides facing our biggest engineering project, we're facing our biggest lawsuit in our history. And then lots of other smaller lawsuits. Obviously not something we talk about details in public, but that's a time. Building a team. As Mayor Bloomberg said, from former mayor of New York, first 100 days, the biggest thing you could do first period of time is build your team. And so we've been making progress and still more to come. We have a few directors that are acting positions, so acting city manager, acting city attorney, acting police chief, acting finance director. And so we're been making progress, and I think by the second 100 days or second quarter, a lot of those positions will be filled, and we're all certainly looking forward to having that additional stability. Other big projects, developing a culture. So I came in with a customer service culture and working with all of the colleagues to my right and left and others that you don't see here on making sure we have a customer service culture. Those are some of my priorities. Like I said, I don't want to take up too much of your time, just me talking. This is to show off the directors and chiefs that you have here. You have a fantastic team running the city and doing the day-to-day business. So I want to get to Q&A as quickly as possible. So with that, I'm not going to start with you this time, Doug. Why don't we start on that end? Director Jakubiak again. used to first names.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Chris Jakubiak. I'm the City Planning Director. The Office of Planning and Zoning and Building administers the long-range development plan for the city, reviews development projects, manages the historic preservation of our historic district, manages the permits and inspections and licensing actions of the city. And we're in all phases of the physical and social development of Annapolis, including the economic and community development aspects of the city's function. So if any of those things are of interest to you, please ask questions when you get a chance, and I'll be around after the conclusion of the meeting if you have any follow-up questions.
Mayor, can I ask a favor?
Sure.
Can I go last?
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Bert Vogel. I'm the Director of Public Works. Public Works takes care of the city's right-of-ways, the roads, the sidewalks, utilities, water, sewer, also stormwater management, and we provide refuse collection for everybody. And the last thing we do is engineering and construction for our own projects and other city departments.
Hi, Brian Paquin with the IT department of the city. I'm about as good at public speaking as you would expect an IT guy to be. But we provide software and hardware support, infrastructure, the parts of our department that you most likely interact with. We run the city's website, the permitting and licensing software, the forward-facing portion of that. And yeah, we just provide internal support primarily for make it easier for the other departments to do their jobs.
Good evening, I'm Rosalind Johnson. I'm the Director of Recreation and Parks here in the city of Annapolis. We do programs, we do licensed childcare, we do summer camps, which this crowd looks mixed, so if you have any summer camp children, now's the time to register them. We're getting full. We have our Easter egg hunt coming up on our adult Easter egg hunt on the 14th of this month. We have prizes up to $550, so make sure you register before you leave if you're interested. It's at night with a flashlight. It's a lot of fun. And our child's egg hunt is on the 21st, and that's during the day, of course, and we have about 17,000 Easter eggs. So we're responsible for just under 200 acres of parkland, about 42 facilities, and most of the programming that you see happen here in the city, definitely the programming here at Stanton, here in Stanton. So I hope to see you. I see some familiar faces, so hopefully I'll see you around.
Good evening, my name is Lasan Crispin. I am the Acting Human Resources Director, and me and my team are responsible for recruiting, hiring, onboarding, training, and keeping all of the city staff compliant.
Good evening, I'm going to stand up, so I'm a little vertically challenged. I'm Jackie Gild. I'm the Deputy City Manager for Resilience and Sustainability, which means I work across all of these departments on climate change and energy efficiency and environmental initiatives, as well as some of my own department. So that means everything from building energy efficiency with the Department of Planning and Zoning to electric vehicles for the city fleet with central purchasing, and water and water quality, cycling and composting with the Department of Public Works. As well as pollinator habitat with my own staff. This harbor master also reports to me, and I'm working very closely now with the Department of Recreation and Parks, in addition to other city manager responsibilities.
I'm going to interrupt the director's introductions to just highlight a couple other people in the room. First, I always like to make sure we thank our men and women in blue. Thank you for the police officers for being here. We have our PIO director, Mitchell, in the back, waving hello. Community strategy with Laura Richards, where I'm pointing, waving her hand. Rocio Smith, over there is Hispanic liaison, and to her right is Menia. Ismenia works with Rocio in the office. Any other city? Oh, and Josh is manning the camera back there. Thank you, Josh. I don't think I'm forgetting any other city employees. I apologize if I'm missing anyone.
Yeah, so they're not a city employee, but they are essential for how the city runs. We got Megan Murray with Premium Parking who came here tonight. So if folks need help signing up for the 2 hours of free parking for city residents in Mills Hillman Garage, please go speak to Megan over there. She's got cards, she's got flyers, how to teach you to sign up for that.
Okay, tough to follow the parking hookup. My name is Matt Flinner. I'm the Director of Central Services. Central Services is the city's newest department, and we exist, much like HR and IT and finance, we work behind the scenes to support each of the departments and the directors up here at this table. Our portfolio includes managing our facilities, managing the city's vehicle fleet. We also have central purchasing or procurement, and we do risk management in all of the city's real estate. Speaking of behind the scenes, 3 behind the scenes things we work on here in Ward 5 that you may or may not know about. One is up on the roof of this building. We have one of our 3 green roofs in the city. It's exactly how it sounds. Instead of shingles up there, we have planting, and it's designed to help filter the rainwater, collect that, and route it out instead of pouring it back into the bay. We also have an emergency generator out back, which excites nobody. No one thinks about power or generators. However, this facility also serves as the city's warming center. So in an emergency, late at night, we have gotten calls, and it's very possible we could get calls to make sure this facility has power, everyone is comfortable, everyone is warm, all the hours of the evening that they're here. And the last fun fact, over at Truxton Park Pool, dirtiest job we've had all year long so far, our backwash pump failed on us, and my whole team was down in a hole in the ground at the pool with a bunch of kids looking through the manhole cover like, what are they doing? And if you think about a backwash tank, it's all the gross stuff trapped in a pool filter that we send out so it's not floating around while you're swimming. We had to go play around down in there and swap out a pump, which my team was not very happy about, but it's something that we have to do. So that's a little bit about Central Services. It's an honor to be here. Thank you all.
Hi, I'm Acting Chief Amy Megeth with the Police Department, and I'm very excited about emergency generators. We have 1 or 2 at the Police Department that it's always good to know that they're working. We work 24/7. We answer calls to 911 and non-emergency calls throughout the city. We also investigate all the crime that happens in the city. We do some parking enforcement when our other parking services aren't around. And you know, one of our main focus is public safety, along with the fire department and the Office of Emergency Management. They're my closest partners, but every department here I work with in some way. Complaints that come in that are police complaints often relate to other departments as well. So we all share information and communicate. And you know, we have to focus not just locally on what's happening in Annapolis, but even internationally with the news that broke over the weekend. We have to be aware of how those sort of things, those events affect us locally. When you see the shooting that happened in Austin, Texas, you know, it can spark something that happens in Annapolis. So we have to be ready. We have to be in communication with the different communities involved and make sure everyone knows that we're watching out for these things and to make sure that they call us if they see something. So really appreciate it.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Marcus Moore, Director of Transportation and Parking, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. And I'd like to introduce some of the other parking contractors since our Alderman Shandelmar forgot SP. So, Mr. John Kemp is our Senior Operations Manager with SP Metropolis, and with him is Brianna Denton, and they handle the rest of the city with premium parking. So they'll handle this district, so districts 2 through 8. So as we go through our questions and answers here, please hang around because we want to make sure everybody knows how to get their 2-hour free in each of our garages as residents. So some factoids about the City of Annapolis' Department of Transportation. We took delivery of our 2 first fully electric buses last year this time, and we had a nice ribbon cutting ceremony right here. So our operation is being outfitted with charging infrastructure right now, so we'll be able to charge these new buses that we have. We have 2 more smaller ones coming in later in this year, and that's one of the things that we're working with our Deputy City Manager, Guile, on a lot of the sustainability programs that we're working through. So we'd like to talk to you later more about transportation, bus transportation, because I'm sure a lot of you have options. And a lot of our riderships have no options. So we want to make sure it's easy and understandable and affordable for you. So coming right by here is that red route. So we'd like to talk to you just about how the transit system works and how we work closely with Anne Arundel County to connect the places that you want to go. But thank you.
I'm going to remain seated because my feet hurt. Hi, everyone. I'm Carrie Berger. I'm the acting city attorney, and I'm a Ward 5 resident, so hello, neighbors. Office of Law does all legal services for the city, which really just means that we are the nerds that like to read and interpret documents that were created in the 18th century.
There we go. Hi, I'm Victoria Buckland. I am the acting city manager, and I have the pleasure of working with all of the people up here and on the council to make sure that we are really executing for the citizens of the city, for the residents of the city, and really realizing the vision that's established by the mayor and council through all the various legislation and other things that come in front of them. So very anxious to hear what you guys are interested in, and away we'll go. Last but not least.
No, Kevin's behind me. Wanted to make sure I wasn't last, so appreciate that. Hi, good evening, Doug Ramalley. I get this distinct privilege to work alongside the men and women of the Annapolis Fire Department day in and day out and serve as your fire chief. A little bit about our department. We operate out of 4 stations that are strategically located throughout the city of Annapolis. Over the last year, we took a diverse group of our staff and started on a new strategic plan. As we developed that, we brought in a third party, which is an accrediting agency for fire services. It's a center of excellence that accredits fire services. We got to do some community engagement opportunities. We did some surveys, and we have developed our strategic plan, which is you can be found on the Annapolis Fire Department's webpage. But I'm here. I'll be here throughout the night, and I'll answer any questions you have about the fire service and public safety in the city of Annapolis. Thanks.
Good evening, everybody. Kevin Simmons, I'm the emergency manager for the city of Annapolis. I do a whole lot of stuff. I kind of coordinate the city's response to an emergency, disaster, or crisis. I deal with substance use disorder. I deal with the food deficit in the city. I deal with the warming center, making sure nobody dies from exposure on the streets of Annapolis. And we do grants. We brought in like $23 million worth of grant money from 2010 to 2024. So we have a myriad of things that we do. But I want to talk about something, and I want to recognize a person in Ward 5. You all heard about Western Maryland. They had the floods. It started like May of last year, and the town of Westernport was flooded out. Folks went to their basement, 9 foot of water. So it took them to the fall to dig out of it. Once they dug out of it, then they had another problem because all the furnaces and the hot water heaters were gone. So we had the winter coming on, so they had to get those replaced. So they were able to replace them with a new fund called State Disaster Recovery. So they were the beneficiaries of this. So let's go back a little bit. In September of 2021, we had the tornado hit Annapolis in the parole area, right? They did $3.8 million worth of damage and all. So someone sitting in this audience, in this park, was one of the victims of that tornado. And that tornado actually affected a lot of folks who were not insured or underinsured. What we tried to do is we tried to get the federal government to give us some funding with an emergency declaration to take care of those folks. They couldn't do it. They said that we didn't meet the threshold, which is 11.6 million. We only had 3.8 million. So we knew that we had to find a way in Maryland that we can actually have people recover when they have a happenstance like this. So we tried to get the State Disaster Recovery Fund legislated. Sarah Elford, Senator Elford at the time, and Dana Jones and Shanika Henson were delegates, and we all got together and went down to General Assembly to try to get this done. So we had one person who was highly affected by this tornado, this Clark, who's sitting right here. And they're not public speakers, they're just regular folks, but every time we asked them, can you come, can you testify about your experience, they did. But whenever we asked them wherever, we wanted them to go. And I can remember one time saying, hey, look, I need you to go to Baltimore City to a convention with thousands of people like me from all over the country and testify and let them know about your experience so they can get a disaster recovery fund too. They might not do that. And they did it. They did it. Again, not public speaker. So I get a call on my desk. They said, can you come down to the General Assembly? The governor's going to sign this into law. And I run down there. I stand behind the governor. He signs. He gives me a pen. And I always thought that the pen that he gave me to sign that document should go to Miss Kimberly Noel Clark instead of me. Because if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have this state disaster recovery fund. And the first beneficiaries were people in Western Maryland who needed it. So Ms. Clark, you can come up. Slow down, I'm going to give you this pen. And here's what the pen says. This pen is presented to the Clark family, was used in signing Senate Bill 650, Public Safety, State Disaster Recovery Fund, now Chapter 539 of the Acts of the General Assembly of Maryland of 2023. You deserve this. You can stand up. Thank you. Ward 5 resident.
Can we give a round of applause for all of the directors and chiefs, please? Thank you all for the presentations. We're going to move into questions and answers. When you ask a question, give a minute to Laura to catch up to you so you have a microphone. Who would like to ask the first question? I know you've got a question back there. Okay.
Hi, everyone. No. My name's Shayon. I actually live in Clint Meadow. Yeah. So I think my question actually is a bit of a quagmire because I don't know if many of you know, but it's actually cut out. So like Clint Meadow is part of the city, whereas around us in Furnace Creek and Ferry Point is county. But what we're running into is the Annapolis Middle School. When it's getting out or when people are dropping off, the traffic has backed up so much, people are waiting 20 minutes to get out of the neighborhood. So we're trying to figure out who we need to talk to work on traffic in that area. If it's county, if it's city. Also, one of the problems is the light is so quick, and at least during drop off and dismissal, if we could change it so it could last a little bit longer so people can get out. Because it's really affecting the quality of life for people who are trying to learn we're trapped. There's no other way to get out. So, like I said, I wanted to come here because I wasn't sure who to talk to about this. And maybe it's a county thing, but I just wanted to bring it up. So, thank you all.
Thank you. Appreciate the question. I'm going to turn it over to Director Vogel in a second, but just to set it up, Spa Road is a state road. The school system is a county-run system. And then, of course, it's taking place in the city, so multiple jurisdictions, but city does not control Spa Road, let alone the repairs, and which I drive on Spa Road every day too, same community. And so I know Spa Road is in the queue for repavement, by the way. But anyway, let me pass it over to Director Vogel to answer your question.
We can talk to the county about the light. Have you spoken with the Board of Ed?
No, and I haven't spoken to the Board of Ed yet. I think the light would be a good first start because it literally lasts for like 8 seconds. So if we could at least get that fixed for certain times of the day to help people get out quicker.
Sure, we can do that.
Alderman Shedemeyer, you want to add something?
And just for my clarification, I'm assuming you're talking about the light on Spa, Forest, and that one? Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, next question. Behind that corner.
I'll just sort of follow up on hers. The other question is, who owns Old Forest Road? Because that is a county, city, or state. State?
Thank you for asking that question. This gives me the opportunity to plug the Public Works website. So if you go to annapolis.gov/Public Works, or just go to the main Annapolis website, go down through the department, you'll come up, click on Public Works. Right there, kind of at the top of the page, is a button that says Know Your Roads. This is the place you can find the answer to that question. I happen to believe it's the state who owns that particular segment of road, but you can confirm on the Know Your Roads website. It's super handy for those kinds of questions. Who owns a particular segment of road, or who owns a traffic signal? And there are very helpful links to submit service requests. For instance, I find, there's a signal that's out. I'll just go right there, click on it, and it'll tell me that, okay, this is where you submit a service request to the state, and the state highway is very responsive to their requests.
And I'm just going to tack on to that. You'd be surprised the number of questions we get about Rowell Boulevard, Taylor Avenue, obviously Spa Road, all these roads that the city doesn't control. So like when we talk about the beach traffic, most of those roads in the city, they're state roads. And that means the lights are state as well. So I wish everyone in the city knew what Director Vogel just said about Know Your Roads. They come our way and we try to help and provide helpful information, but it's an interesting question in the city of Annapolis because we have all those 3 jurisdictions crisscrossing all over, and most people don't know the difference. It just happens to be in the city. Sam? Wait for you to get a mic.
Just an add-on to what the lady back there said, I agree with you. Is there a criteria that when you'd say maybe we should send out a policeman just for a certain period of time? Because like this lady said, I waited almost a half an hour getting off of Forest Drive on the spot because of construction at Providence Point and the school letting out. It was a total mess. So
Chief
maybe,
McGuess?
Yes, so there are 6 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, plus some numerous private schools in the city of Annapolis, and most of the elementary schools all start at the same time. So it's not possible for us to have officers out at every school. We do get a lot of traffic concerns around schools, especially at pickup and drop-off time, whether it's Eastport Elementary or Tyler Heights. But it's really up to the school to try and make the best traffic plan for their school. And we try to assist them and do different things to assist that part of it. The light is probably going to be your best bet. I don't think the light used to be that bad because this was my area that I patrolled, and I would be around most mornings, and it gets backed up, but it's usually not that bad. So maybe the timing got off, and it just needs to be fixed. So that could be something.
Great. One second. Hold on. Chief McGuess, just for context, so people have, on a typical day at 8 a.m., how many officers are out on the road?
So our patrol shifts, our minimum staffing is 7 officers. The city itself is split into 6 posts. So we have 6 officers assigned to different posts. 1 officer is a rover, and then there's supervisor who's working. As the day wears on, more people are coming in, detectives, traffic safety, other people working different positions. But patrol itself, the shifts, minimum staffing is 7. So we get spread thin sometimes. If there's a lot of things going on, if you see an accident and there's 3 officers out, then just consider how many officers then are free.
Thank you. I wanted to give some context. You think about 120 or so sworn officers, but it's a 24/7 shift. 24/7 coverage, I meant to say. So when you divide all of that number of people, plus you have certain people out on injury, often work-related, you get down to often under 10 people actually out on the road covering all of Annapolis. So I just want to give some context for the answer to your question. You had a question? Wait, hold on a second. Wait till we get a microphone over here to you.
So I also live in Hunt Meadow, have had to adjust my schedule leaving and coming home, and I get that with the 1 lane. My concern more so is the safety of these kids, right? They're dropping them off on Old Forest, they're turning into Forest and then stopping right there. Like it's terrible. So there's no sidewalk per se anymore for these kids. So number 1 would be safety for me. I can adjust my schedule a little bit and be a little patient. It's the kids.
Director Buckland, do you want to address that at all about working with us? Good job, Mike. Yeah, thanks.
So the thing that I'll say there is that the county has started a Safe Routes to School effort, and that is one that the city participates in. We have some staff from a couple of different departments who participate in that, with the goal of both identifying routes and then typically what you'd see then are suggestions for how to improve that. Obviously, along some road segments, as Mayor Littman already pointed out, those are owned by other jurisdictions, either by the schools themselves or by the county or by the state. But where the city has some jurisdiction, the city does try to prioritize those kind of routes for like snow and some things like that. So that effort on the part of the county for Safe Routes to School is one that we support and try to participate in.
Next question, over here on the left. Yes, please, thank you.
Hi, my name's Angela. I live in Hunt Meadow also, and this is beating the dead horse that we're on, but I just thought I'd just make two comments. The middle school has a later time of arrival. They're a 9 a.m. entry, not an 8 or a 7:30, just a little FYI, which is somewhat new. It's probably been within the last 12 to 18 months, 2 seasons. And the project that my dear neighbor is participating in, Providence Point, would it be possible to ask the construction to start later in the day? I personally can adjust my schedule too, but I also like to solve problems, so I thought I'd throw that out there.
Director Bolt?
I don't think that's me.
Okay.
What I can say is I'm meeting with the superintendent tomorrow and his public facilities and planning divisions, and this issue will be front and center. We're there to talk about something else, actually some road improvements and some basic planning around the middle school to make it safer generally for the public, both driving, because Forest Drive is the most dangerous road in our community, and for those arriving by bike and walking. So we're taking to heart what you said. This is perfect timing, couldn't be better. So I'm really glad I'm here tonight to convey this message to the superintendent tomorrow.
Thanks, Chris. Okay. In the back.
So keeping on the topic of streets and roads, West Street. I leave to my office every morning between 4:30 and 5:30 in the morning. And it's quite dark. There's some potholes that make it really rough.
Can you be more specific of where on West Street you're talking about?
Where Dunkin' Donuts, heading down that way. There's one lady who rides her scooter early in the morning. I've almost hit her twice because she rides on the street and not on the sidewalk. There's many residents who use the bus stops, and it's not safe for them. So what is it that we're going to do to improve the lighting and the potholes and to make the bus stops more lit as well so that people feel safe being able to stop at the bus stops?
Yeah, I'll talk about maybe the bigger, longer-term vision, and it's one that involves land use changes in introducing mix of housing and commercial development. Along with that comes things like lights and amenities and safety generally. So the West Street corridor, we do imagine, will be much different 20 years from now and much safer and much more pedestrian-oriented. But in direct response to your specific questions, I'm going to turn it over to the Public Works Director who can answer those questions.
So I'll tackle the pothole thing first. I kind of addressed this earlier. Please go to our website, Know Your Roads, you'll find the state highway link there, or you can Google that directly, how to report a problem to state highway. That is definitely a state highway road, so potholes, please put in a service request when you have one of those. As it pertains to lighting, we need to see very specific locations. The city it's very expensive to come in and install a whole bunch of new streetlights, so if there's a particularly dimly lit area, we can do that, but it's costly to install a new pole.
I appreciate your answer. So again, I'm out at 4:30, 5:30 in the morning. It is dark. I've almost hit people because lights are blown out. I work for a major company, and I need to make sure that my light poles are in working order. So again, when you are on West Street and you're at Exxon and you're going down towards Whole Foods, there's lights that are out. I don't want to accidentally hit someone early in the morning. So potholes, guess what? I can live with potholes. I've lived with potholes 6 years since I've lived here. But it's the lights that are out that are a major concern, not only to me, but probably to other people.
Can I follow up on that? Since it's lights, you didn't mention that the first time. Since it's lights that are just out, BGE will repair those. Again, go to BGE's website. Report the light outage. We'll get some of this information out either to Alderman Schandelmeyer or Mitchell. We'll get some things out. But there are easy ways to report these things. Sometimes BG isn't as responsive as we'd like them to be. And then once something's been out for 2 months or so, let us know at Public Works. Again, we need residents to report these things, right? That's one of the things. We don't have people driving around the city looking for problems. It is all very much resident reported, and then we make sure that the correct agency responds to those things.
Mayor Littman, can I add?
Yeah, let me I'm going to come with Alderman Schandelmeyer wants to say something, and I just want to tack on something as well. When you go to the Know Your Road site, an important link there, because Director Vogel speaks so fast, I want to make sure you catch it. It's not just to find out what road who owns the road. And for West Street, it's city when it's really close to the circle downtown, and very quickly when you get by the library, I think it is, or so, it changes over to state. But the point I want to make sure you're hearing, not only do you find out who owns the road, but there's a link right there to then report a problem to the correct entity. One of the things I've learned is there's so many different agencies and entities. We're talking about roads right now, but whatever the problem is, there's a whole group of people, different entities with federal, state, county programs, and so on. So we try to facilitate that but we can't report every light pole. Alderman Schandelmeyer, you want to say something?
Yeah, if you email me tomorrow, I can get you the link to report those downed street lights. That way you can just have it right there, and we can get that taken care of ASAP.
Yeah, thank you. One of the questions that came up about lighting at bus shelters. So we're doing an inspection of our bus shelters that we own, that will get direct light, that we could actually get a solar lighting in them. So it's a start working with our procurement officer. We've identified a few that will work, that we can try them out. But that's a really good point for safety, security, and advertising. Of course, we got advertising in most of our bus shelters. But the safety aspect is a very big point that you brought up. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you. Next question, please. Chris? Roz, I'm going to give the microphone to you for the answer here. I already know what's coming.
I don't, so I'm on the edge of my seat.
Is it my turn? Okay, so I have 5 questions, but I want to hear about the free parking, so I will only give you one. My question has to do with communications with you and every department head here. I've lived here 54 years. I have used all means of communications. You were the best.
Thank
you. You always return calls, whatever.
Surprised me.
And I wasn't paid to say that.
Thank you, Chris.
Alderman Schandelmeyer also is very good. So anybody who doesn't know him, reach out to him. You'll be sorry I said that, but it's true. But I do want to bring up a couple other ways that I communicated. So I've communicated by email. I've communicated or learned of information by going to the video. That's been great. I have looked at the boards and commissions meetings. That's not so great. There aren't many minutes for some of those commissions, and some are not even apparently meeting, so I guess they should be removed. And then I want to also mention, I hate to do this, but report a problem was not so good during the snow removal process. First of all, I called that number that I didn't memorize it, but
410-260-1122.
the people were excellent taking my information, getting my email, getting my phone number, but I never got any results. I reached out to Brooks. He did his best. He actually sent something back or called me or something and said, did they come by? And no, nobody came by. We had to remove, I think it was 30 feet by 20 feet to get out. It took us 9 days. But I do want to say that it has worked, and I want to single out Roz Johnson because she has emailed me on a Sunday. She has called me on my cell phone, so it can work. But my major question is, what is the best way to communicate to you guys and get information back? The best way.
Constituent services at annapolis.gov. Constituent services at annapolis.gov. So there's lots of email addresses. Reaching me is mayor@annapolis.gov, but if you want a response, constituent services at annapolis.gov. You wouldn't be surprised that hundreds daily emails, and so it is just physically impossible to keep up as quickly. We do our best. One thing I don't think most residents appreciate is actually how small city government is in so many ways. I highlighted police officers, for instance. You would think, oh, we have over 100 police officers. There must be dozens of officers on the road. No, it's 7 to 10 or so. I'm going to ask Director Simmons, I'm again so used to first names, to talk about how the system worked during the snowstorm, but I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, so I want to express just the capabilities of the city government. This city government response to the snowstorm, I would say it's at best of what our capability was. There's going to be a few things, and Director Simmons will talk about after action report. There's always lessons learned. But from the big picture, the speed of response, we don't have the capability to do more than what was done overall. The system of sending drivers out is essentially a phone call and clipboard system, as opposed to when you DoorDash and they have computerized routes, and Amazon have computerized routes. We don't have any software like that. When you talk about the number of people, we have a total of 6 mechanics to repair these vehicles. That means if they're doing 12-hour shifts, 3 people at a time. And so in that, I went to visit during the big snowstorm that you're talking about, the facility, the workshop where they're repairing trucks. There's plows, there's police officers, there's an ambulance, 3 mechanics. They bring their own tools. They pay for their own tools. We don't have enough manpower, we don't have the right equipment, we don't have the software to give you a quicker response, in my mind, than what you got. They ran, for preparation, this entire group of people, we had daily calls throughout the whole storm. And so from a preparation, they were aware it was coming. Where's Mitchell? Mitchell was getting out daily. I think she worked probably, I don't know how many days in a row of 16-hour days, I'm not exaggerating, without relief from getting communication out. We are operating at max capacity of what we have. It's a unusual storm. I don't think you want to pay the taxes required for us to have a better system for that storm to be ready at a faster response, is my big picture response. Can we get the software? I know Director Vogel's going to be asking for that in his budget for the software so we can have better communication so that when drivers come out and they don't miss a road as easily as they do. And that's the kind of mistakes, feels like unforced errors that we can make and improve on. But I just want to give some context for capabilities. So with that, Director Simmons, you want to talk about the response system and how many calls you got and how that was managed?
I'll go ahead and start with this. Candidate Littman, I had a discussion with him, and I knew I wanted to get a exercise. And the exercise that I wanted, even before I knew that we were going to get the snow that we were going to get, was that scenario. Was that scenario. So I had Candidate Littman. I said, look, if anything's going to mess you up in your first few days, it's going to be a snowstorm. Let's do this exercise. And he was all with it. So we did some training on our emergency snow plan, which actually belongs to Public Works. We upgraded it, we trained on it, and then we had a big exercise. And what do you know? We get the snow. And this was an unusual snow because we had a bunch of snow, and then right behind it we had a bunch of freezing rain, and then right behind that we had sub-zero temperatures. So if you had a shovel and you tried to shovel yourself out, it wasn't working. The only thing I saw that was working is somebody had a pitchfork, right? And they would pitch it down below to the soft snow and then come back up with plates of ice and snow. And once they got rid of that, they could move forward. But this was an unusual circumstance. So I'm glad to hear the comment about the call center. We try real hard to have good customer service with that. We fielded close to 700 some odd calls, approaching 800 calls. That's the most that we've ever fielded in the history since I've been here, my 16 years here. Even during COVID, we didn't have that many calls. But we were every day in the EOC, which is in the police department, the Emergency Operations Center. We always had representatives from Public Works, from fire and police. So when we got your phone calls, if we had any issues, we can turn right to that person to help solve those issues. Did we hit the mark every time? No, we didn't. Did we do our best? Yes, we did. And I think we had a good response. So what we're doing is an after action to actually talk about things that went very, very well that we want to repeat, and then we want to look at things that we can improve upon and then get better for the next one. But again, this was an unusual incident, so thank you.
I know we've talked about snow a lot, but I'll add one other thing. About 24 hours after the storm ended, most of the streets became unplowable. They were packed down from folks driving on them, and even though they were very rough, the plows could just not budge the ice. The blades would just buckle, and so we would get after some spots. There were a few spots that we could just go over and over and over, and eventually they would improve slightly. But most of the time, we were still working on significant areas, multiple blocks, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 9-10 days after the storm. And the only thing that would do that was construction equipment. You actually had to go out and get the earth-moving equipment that had the strength to break up that ice and move things. So that was just a very painful exercise. It is also entirely possible that calls came into the call center and we just didn't get an asset out to that at all. And so, every once in a while, I know things slip through the cracks and maybe we never did get to something we should have. But we triaged, 700, 800 calls. And sometimes people would say, nobody's been here, and we know the plow had been there 4 times. You couldn't tell the difference.
I'll call out that I think Director Vogel probably worked 2.5, 3 weeks without a day off during that storm, and it's like not easy days, right? Stressful days, all this incoming. And by the way, while all of these directors are working on that crisis, their day stuff was happening too. So Director Vogel would send out someone for a plow and then say, nope, we need you redirected to a water main break. And this is at 9 o'clock and 20-degree temperature fixing a water main. So very difficult work. And so that's partly why I want to do this, is try to have the opportunity to share how hard these individuals, not just these, but all the people that work for you. In the back left? Oh, I'm sorry, before I get you, Alderman Schneidermeyer.
To get back to your question on what's the best way to get in contact, email me. I love email because it creates a solid record. I can send it out to the appropriate department. I try my best to get back to everybody in 2 days. I do work full-time and we don't have staff, so I don't always hit that goal. If I don't get back to you in 2 days, please send me a follow-up. I really want to try and solve y'all's problems, so.
Thank you. And along those lines, I shared the email. What's not the best way to reach me is Friday at 5 p.m. through Facebook Messenger. It happens. Through LinkedIn messages, not the best way to reach me, and so on. So I do not promise anyone that I'm going to respond to questions and comments on social media. If you want even text, I try to keep text to personal and emergencies. Email is the best way, again, for the record. You can imagine I want to be able to have something I can quickly forward to the right person, or the person handling constituent services emails can get to you quickly. Okay.
Before we head to the next question, let's have Mitchell give a factoid. I love a little factoid. If any of you are interested in how hard DPW worked during the snowstorm, please take a drive over to Truxton Park near the skate park. More than 3 million tons of snow were removed from city roads and sidewalks, and to this day, it's still melting. And we've got a ways to go. I'll be shocked if it's melted before the end of April. But so I just want you all to know that there was a lot of work involved, a lot of very heavy lifting, and the 3 million tons of snow is still sitting there as evidence.
I also have a little snow follow-up. Those of you who know me personally, I grew up in a town called Lewiston, Maine, and I made friends with their mayor because he actually grew up in Annapolis before moving to Lewiston. I grew up in Lewiston before moving to Annapolis. We were talking about this most recent snowstorm, and he said those towns in Maine couldn't have done with that, and they spend 20% of their budget on snow removal. So this was a heck of a storm. We really appreciate everybody's patience on this. We are sorry for the places that we couldn't hit as quickly as we wanted, but we really tried our best, and we really appreciate everyone for working and bearing with us.
Thank you, Brooks. I think it was back left over here. My left.
First of all, thank you for doing this. We've lived here a long time, and I don't remember ever being able to talk to a group of people like this. Snow removal. It's very difficult. This past storm, you're right, it was really hard. However, over the past 40 years, every time I call Public Works or get in touch with somebody at Public Works, we have been told that we're at the bottom of the list. This is the reason we're not getting the services. Now, I understand what you're saying. Is it possible that we could start rotating the list? 40 years is a long time to be at the bottom of the list. And I don't even know, I mean, is that true that there is a list?
I will just tell you, the bottom of the list is dead ends and cul-de-sacs. Those are the hardest things to get to. Those are the things that we can't get to quickly because the plows have to go in and back out. Are you on a dead end or a cul-de-sac? Yes. So that is just inevitable that those will be the areas of the city that get taken care of last. In the early days of a storm, the trucks need to cover as much ground, or in the early hours of a storm, the trucks need to cover as much ground as they can, and the cul-de-sacs always kind of get skipped as they try to make loops.
Well, so we don't live on the cul-de-sac, okay? We live right near Gemini Drive, and as you can see, after 40 years, it would be very helpful in our situation to have at least the beginning of our development taken care of more quickly.
So we will try to, one of the things, the areas for improvement is to try to route our trucks.
Burr,
yes.
Can you first describe, there is actually a tiering of what you do first, what we do second, and what we do third. So snow emergency, can you talk about that first and then talk about?
Sure, we do have 3 designated tiers, snow emergency routes, connector routes, and so those would, snow emergency routes might be Gemini or Hilltop. Connector routes would be kind of a second tier below that. And then third is everything else. And most of the things in the city is everything else.
And
so, but to your specific question about, could a street be taken care of quickly? If we can get a little bit more sophisticated with our routing, rather than just give drivers a map and say, go cover this entire quadrant of the city, we think we can be a little more efficient.
But if you're curious what those roads are, that actually is on the city website, of what are the snow emergency routes, what are the secondary roads, and then what is everything else.
The Gemini Drive is a snow emergency route. There was no left turn lane off of Gemini Drive on the Forest Drive for the whole time of the storm. It was one of the last days, and they brought in some heavy equipment to finally get a left turn lane there. So, and that's a snow emergency route.
Yeah, slightly different thing. I don't know, Burr, if you want to.
I'm sorry, I hope we're not monopolizing the time talking about some, fairly detailed tactics of snow removal. But here's the thing. Gemini was made passable. Then you end up with lanes that were blocked, and there were many of them throughout the city. Pretty much every major intersection along Forest Drive had built up ice where at least one lane or more was not passable. And so when I mentioned earlier about bringing in construction crews, I think it might have been day 8 or day 9, probably, day 8, 9, or 10, we were hitting all of Forest Drive with construction crews, which requires a little bit of traffic control. You have to make sure that that's done safely. And so again, it's just a major planning effort to go after particularly any intersection with Forest Drive.
Okay, I'm going to take another question, then I'll do a few questions of, Jeremiah. Do 1, 2, and 3, and then I want to do some other questions from directors, 2 directors that you haven't heard from.
Thank you. Hi everyone, Jeremiah Batchkin. I co-founded Peak Social in 2020. If you like paying less taxes, this year we'll hit over $100,000 paid to Parks and Rec. And so if you like that, we want to keep growing. But in addition, I also just joined Play Annapolis, which is a nonprofit focusing on getting kids on the field, scholarships, advocacy. And so we had our coalition meeting last week, and the question I have for Parks and Rec and Director Johnson is maintenance of fields. And so we're looking for quality improvement. We've had these discussions, both myself and other organizations, and I know one role that they said is we should just use it less, which I think is the opposite. When kids are playing sports, I think they're more disciplined, they have more opportunity to growth, more ability to do teamwork. And so we don't want to shut it down, but we want to just focus on the maintenance strategy. So I'm just curious if you could talk about that approach this year.
Sure. You should have noticed that we redid and resodded, superseded, and aerated many of our fields. And when we say use it less, that means grass has to grow, grass has to regerminate, and grass has to, kind of lift up. If you're constantly pounding down grass, there's nothing you can do. We are looking at an artificial turf field at Weens Whalen. Last year we had a bad batch of ball diamond mix. This year we've purchased different ball diamond mix and we've purchased more of it. I think the mounds are out on the diamonds now, but we are working through that. We did bring in an expert to look at it. And I do want to underscore that when we took that over, it was a bad job that was done as reseeding and resodding that whole field. It didn't take, and that was not us. And thank you for the $100,000. That money does go to the city, though, Mr. Mayor. That does not come to Recreation and Parks. It goes to the general fund. So I just want to share that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and if I got one of Weens Whalen, I'd love to hear an update on where we are with that capital project.
So Weens Whalen used to be a landfill, which means we have to do some environmental mitigation. So we do have the survey back from the environmental services. So we have to come up with a plan. It might be, well, I don't want to say what it is in different places because I don't know. But let's just say it's A in some places and B in another place. We have to cap it at different heights and different levels. So that's something that has to be planned out. We need an architect and an environmental person to look at that. Before we do that, we have to get our plans together and we have to send it to critical area and we have to send it to the state's Department of the Environment. So there are many steps we have to go through for permitting. It's not easy, but we are starting to work on that process. And I think, all right, we'll leave it there. Burr's not looking at me like he wants the microphone, so.
I think that field will be done in about 2 years, is kind of my sense, is the timeline on the project.
And I will share, we are doing an organic infill on there. So normally people put crumb rubber underneath the artificial turf. We're doing organic infill, which will be trees. So it'll be natural. So when your children fall on it, rubber's not going to get up their nose. Well, I mean, trees will, so hopefully a tree won't grow, but it's less harmful. And then when we have organic infill, the temperature is much lower on artificial turf. Normally, artificial turf gets more hotter than it is on the pavement in some instances. With this artificial turf, the grass next to it is usually a higher temperature than the artificial turf is. So we're excited about that. It's the same thing that Montgomery County uses and the same thing that Gaithersburg uses. So more to come on that.
Great. I want to try to take one more question, gentleman right here, and then I'm going to give them some Q&A. And we're trying to end a little bit so that you have time for one-on-one questions for anything you didn't answer. Gentleman in white?
Yeah. I really don't have a question. I just want to make a comment that this recreation center is one of the best things there is in Annapolis. And the staff, the facilities, and the programs that are offered are just top notch. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And Director Johnson runs this, so that's great to hear a compliment to any of the directors, but that one goes to Director Johnson. So actually, she was going to be my first card, so she got a question. All right. Matt Flinner from Central Services. How do you ensure that the city's purchasing and contracting processes are fair and competitive?
Everyone's favorite topic, purchasing. So in Central Services, we have the Central Purchasing Department, or Procurement, and we work with really all the city's vendors to facilitate the purchase of any goods or services any department might need. If any of you are business owners yourself, if you have submitted a bid for a city solicitation, you may have run up against what we call the blackout period, where you ask us a whole bunch of questions, we're like, we can't talk to you, and no matter how many emails or Facebook messages or phone calls you send, we still can't talk to you. And the reason for that is to make our processes fair and competitive for everybody. So from the moment a solicitation for a good or service is posted on our website, from that moment until the contract is awarded, we cannot speak with anyone about any details for that solicitation. We can't tell you what we're planning, the value, what we're hoping for, because that would give one firm a leg up over another firm. So we'd speak with no one to give everyone kind of that same competitive advantage. We post everything publicly in the newspaper and on our website, and that's all we say. We post it in the same spot every time. If folks are interested, they can go there to look. Again, so no one business or firm gets a kind of a one-up or an advantage over any other. With that said, though, our process is completely fair, completely competitive, and depending on the nature of the solicitation, we always select either the lowest bidder or the best value bid for the good or the service that we're trying to get.
Thank you. Lasan is one of our newest city employees. I think it's the least senior person, but she has a wealth of experience on the federal level. And so one of the benefits of federal government having some chaos is we're getting some fantastic applicants and new employees to city government, and Lasan is an example of one of those. So I'm really curious what your answer to this question is going to be. What new initiatives are you currently working on?
Thank you. So the HR team is working on a lot of new initiatives. I started in November, and since that time, the entire team and I have been reviewing all of our current policies and processes, and our goal is to make everything in HR more efficient. We're streamlining everything so that we can onboard staff faster so that they can be hired to do the mission-critical work that the city is that the city needs them to do. One of our really exciting initiatives that we are also working on is the implementation of a new HR system. And so we are taking a look at all of the data that's required to build the system out, making sure that it's going to work appropriately, and we hope to have that up and running in the next few months.
Fantastic.
Also, we have the internship program.
Yes, thank you for that. So we are also getting ready to launch our internship program, and I believe, is this the second year? Third year? Third. This is the third year that we will be having our interns come back and learn about different job opportunities within the city. The goal is to have that announcement out in early to mid-May and allow our city students to apply for those announcements and be ready to start working over the summer.
Thank you. Chief Romali, how do you interact with the county fire department?
So for anybody in this room, typically if you have an emergency incident that you're involved in, whether it's in the city, in the county, or actually on the Naval Academy, you're probably not going to know if it's an Annapolis firefighter, an Anne Arundel County firefighter, or Naval District Washington firefighter because we are so intermingled in everything we do, not only with training, but our responses. Our responses are AVL driven. So what that means is we're going to send the closest unit to your emergency no matter which jurisdiction that is. We actually share a firehouse with Anne Arundel County, so everybody, and I'm a Ward 5 resident also, but as you go to the Annapolis Neck Peninsula down towards Powell Park, there's a fire station on the corner of Bay Ridge Road and Rundle and the Bay Road. That is actually a county fire station. We share that fire station with the county. There are both county and city employees in that station. The county runs a fire engine out of there, and we staff the medic unit and the EMS supervisor. 65% of those calls are in the city of Annapolis because most of those are on the Edgewood Road, Georgetown Road corridor there. So it works very well, but we interact every day, and it's seamless. So.
Great, thank you, Chief. Jackie Guile. What are some examples of resilience and sustainability projects or issues being addressed by the city?
All right, so the city has completed its update to its greenhouse gas emissions plan, which has led to our climate action plan. So we will be putting out recommendations for how the city can become more resilient and adaptive to climate change. Very soon, we'll be putting that on our website, so there'll be opportunities for residents to comment on the plan and put in their recommendations. We will have a public meeting to provide the plan's initial recommendations and solicit feedback. And this is important because it feeds into what we do within the city for building energy efficiency and our fleet changes and other environmental changes we will make to make our city more adaptive to the climate, mitigate the effects of climate change, and be more resilient in general. So we take it from that high level, and then we can take it down to the lower level, where we are working on a pollinator project at the solar park. And the solar park, we are putting in pollinator habitat on a portion of the land outside of the fence of the solar park for now. It's going to be an education project as well as a project to reinvigorate our natural pollinators, bees, birds, and others. And then we're also working, as I mentioned earlier, with the Central Services Division on our EV fleet. So electrifying our fleet to make it more energy efficient, more cost effective, and more environmentally friendly. So there's just a few of the examples we're working on. We also work quite closely with the Resilience Authority. And some of you may be aware that we have a Resilience Authority in the first place. It's just like a stadium authority or anything else you use to build a large capital project. But this one is the Annapolis and Anne Arundel County Resilience Authority, and it's geared up to address infrastructure, both gray infrastructure and green infrastructure, to make our city more resilient and adaptive to climate change. And so the city works very closely, all the departments do, on financing mechanisms to raise money for the large-scale projects that are very expensive to implement.
Thank you. I'm going to take two more questions. I think I had to go. Yeah, go ahead. Let's get the mic over to you.
Hi, my name's Marge, and I live in Hun Meadow. I've been an Annapolis resident for about 35 years, and what I'm really disappointed in is the amount of trash I see, not only in Annapolis, but Maryland in general. And I wanted to know if you guys have noticed the same thing and what we can do about it. I feel like I do my part, but what can the city do to help?
Are you talking about residential trash?
Trash that lines
Litter.
the roadways. As soon as I leave my community, it's in my community too.
Okay.
I make a right-on spot, and it's just both sides of the road. I make a left on Forest, and again, it just keeps getting worse and worse. Ariski Allen, you take a exit ramp or an entrance ramp there. There's bottles, cans, tires, buckets, dishwashing, plastic, all kinds of debris. It gets covered by leaves, so you might not notice it at sometimes, but it is all there and it's all buried, and I've noticed it for years. It's demoralizing. What did you do?
Beautification is one of my goals to help, especially the entrances. So Aristide Allen, Forest Drive, Raul Boulevard. It's a few entrances where I'd like to make more beautiful. Each of the 3 roads that you mentioned, Spa Road, Forest Drive, Aristide Allen, none of them are city roads. And so we have to work with our partners to highlight issues of where we want to have improvement. Any director
Yes,
like to?
Mayor, can I?
Yeah, Marcus.
Marcus Moore, Director of Transportation and Parking. We have a program called Adopt a Stop. And there's a few community agencies that have adopted, like SOFO, down on Bay Ridge Avenue. And what we ask, there's 2 right out front here by the center. But we'll put a banner up, recognize you in our newsletter. But if you're able to help us with snow and trash removal and just looking at it every so often. These programs to get the community involved have been very successful. Like Baltimore may have 4,000, MTA Baltimore may have 4,000 stops. We have about 50. Not all have bus shelters, but the ones that do, if you'd like to know more about it, Annapolis.gov, trickle down to transportation. But the Adopt a Stop program has been around for about 4 years. I started it back in just before COVID. And we have just a handful of companies that elected to do that. But it might be something to help out the whole community.
Thank you.
Additionally, Public Works makes periodic.
Good evening, everyone. It is now 7:45, and the Pomona Recreation Center will be closing in 15 minutes. Please wrap up your workout, collect your belongings, and prepare to vacate. Thank you. Have a good evening. We will see you tomorrow.
Okay, I think it's over. All right, so Public Works does do cleanups on our roads, on the city roads. And so if you go to Know Your Road, you can file a complaint there. If you do that, then Public Works will make an additional sweep there, correct, Burr? Yeah, sometimes, well, that's what I've been told. Yeah.
A truck just drops a bunch of stuff in the roadway. We have a very small crew of 2 folks who can go out and kind of clean up a hot spot, if you will. But we do not have people that can go out and just pick up litter, kind of adopt a highway program. That is not something that Public Works, your taxes don't support that level of service. That would have to be some sort of a community effort, I think.
So, but you should go to Know Your Road, so you know whether you need to contact the state or the city to make that complaint. Yeah.
I've done that, and they say they cleaned up Spa Road, but I really didn't notice any difference. I didn't see anyone working it, and the trash was, I could see it at 40 miles an hour.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. We don't do that, right? If you say, hey, Spa Road's got a bunch of litter on the sides, we're not going to respond to that.
Right. I've reported it to the state.
So one thing I want to highlight, not every problem can be solved by government. The litter that you're talking about is a societal issue. We need to have peer pressure, if you will, campaigns. Not every problem can be solved by government. You don't want your tax dollars having the support that you are talking about to do that, because it would be so expensive to do. So again, society can organize its own organizations, promotions, talk to your residents, and that's what I would encourage as part of the solution. Let me give Director Johnson.
So the mayor and Director Moore talked about beautification projects. We are in the 34th year of Greenscape here in the city of Annapolis. We will pay for the flowers, the trees, whatever you want to plant, and you and some of your closest friends, it looks like you have 3 people here already, but 2 other people, but you can go out and beautify a specific area. And so for our Greenscape week, it's supposed to be a weekend, but we extend it for a week. We have over 400 volunteers all over the city who are planting trees, planting flowers, planting bulbs, doing all sorts of things. So if that's something you're interested in, you could look on City of Annapolis's Facebook page, look on Recreation and Parks Facebook page, or you can go to the city's website and type in Greenscape, and that information will be there. And it's free. You don't have to pay for the trees, the plants, or anything.
Thank you. Alderman?
So this is unfortunately a long-term solution where you have to ask the state for favors, but usually every session the state debates a bottle deposit bill where for bottles and cans you have to pay an extra 5 cents when you buy a soda or buy a 12-pack per can or per bottle, and then when you send it back you get your 5 cents back, and the companies have an extra 2 cents. States that have this tend to have a 95 to 98% compliance rate on physical litter cutting down. So it's been introduced this session, but during this session, so it always ends up kind of coming up short, but if you bug the state, they might eventually pass it.
Can you give one more round of applause to all the directors and chiefs? Really appreciate them being out here. I want to highlight, so they're coming out, this is one of 8 town halls we're doing just this spring, then we'll do another 8 in the fall. That'll be more of a budget focus, so I won't ask them all to come out. But these directors also come out for all this, city council meetings when they have issues. They have other community meetings, especially planning and zoning have evening meetings, and they all have their daytime work. So I want to dispel the myth of your government employee that's just clocking in and out of 7 hours. That does not exist on these tables. They're going to hang around till 8 o'clock and before we get kicked out, but they're going to hang around a little bit. So if you have a one-on-one question that didn't get asked, please feel free to approach and mingle. Really appreciate your support of Alderman Schandelmeyer and I as your elected officials, and for all of these individuals. We are not perfect, we'll make mistakes, but we're all working really hard and we're trying to improve all the time. Thank you so much for being out here.